this thing called marriage, Esther slowly began to try living a normal life again, or at least what passed for normal in the village. But the stigma clung to her like a stubborn shadow. Whenever she stepped into the market to buy food or small household items, whispers followed her footsteps. Some women would hiss under their breath, others would stare openly, and a few were bold enough to refuse selling to her. Wicked woman. Is that not the widow that killed her husband? She wants to enjoy the property she inherited. Those words cut deeper than knives, yet Esther endured them silently. But one person never left her side. David. Do not worry, Esther, he said gently one morning. During your 1-year mourning period, I will go to the market for you. I will buy everything you need. You don't have to expose yourself to their cruelty. He looked into her eyes with assurance. What people think or say does not matter. What matters is that you swore and survived. That alone has proven your innocence. Once 1 year is complete after your husband's death, you will be free to live again. By then, no one will dare bully you. The law of the land forbids it. His words soothed her aching heart like balm on fresh wounds. Esther felt peace whenever David was around. With him, the noise of the village faded, and for the first time since her first marriage, she felt safe. Yet one day, curiosity overcame her. David, she asked softly, why are you doing all this for me? What is your reason? What exactly do you want from me? Or is this how you help everyone in the village? David smiled calmly, his voice low and steady. It is because I love you, Esther. Her breath caught. I have never felt this way about any woman before. From the moment I saw you that evening, lying helpless on the ground, something rose quietly inside me. Since that day, I have known no peace except when I am close to you. Esther stood frozen. But I am a widow, she whispered. I just lost my husband. How can you have feelings for me? David nodded. I know. I know you are a widow. You are barely 20 years old, still so young. You cannot remain alone forever. If it is about your widowhood, I promise to wait. I will wait until you complete your 1 year of mourning, according to the tradition of our land. Only then will we take any step. Esther was speechless. Her lips trembled before forming a shy smile. Later that night, alone in her heart spoke louder than her fears. I love him already, she admitted to herself. And I am sure he loves me too. Maybe this is God's plan for me. I have always prayed to be with a younger man, someone I can truly love, someone I can give my virginity to, someone I can spend the rest of my life with in peace and happiness. Tears filled her eyes, but this time, they were not of pain. Thank God my late husband never touched me before he died. May his soul rest in peace. What Esther did not know was that David was not who he claimed to be. Behind the hut that evening, hidden from her sight, David stood alone and smiled, a smile void of warmth. Yes, he muttered to himself. I am finally getting it right. She believes I love her. She believes I am willing to spend my life with her. He scoffed quietly. Foolish girl. As soon as she finishes mourning, I will propose. And when she accepts, I will marry her. His eyes gleamed with greed. And all her late husband's property will become mine. According to the law of the land, if a man dies without children, his wealth and inheritance become his wife's. And if that wife remarries, everything passes to her new husband. That was David's plan all along. Her late husband was wealthy, vast lands, livestock, and riches. And David, a lazy and greedy young man, had seen his opportunity the moment he saw Esther helpless on the ground that night. He was not saving her. He was investing. He walked away, satisfied, already counting lands that were not yet his. Back inside the hut, Esther slept peacefully, unaware that the man she believed was God-sent was carrying a knife of betrayal wrapped in love. A wise parable says, Not every hand that lifts you intends to keep you standing. Some lift you only to see how heavy your fall will be. In this time and age, marriage has become a place of fear rather than safety. One no longer knows why they are chosen. Is it love or gain? For Esther, the mystery of marriage was far from over. Her unseen battles had only just begun.
She is the evil widow.
The days after David's confession passed gently on the surface, yet dangerously underneath. Esther began to smile again. Not the first smiles she wore during mourning, but the quiet kind that comes when hope tiptoes back into a wounded heart. Each morning, she swept her compound with a little more strength. Each evening, she cooked with less heaviness in her chest. And every time David appeared at her door, with food, with concern, with patience, her heart softened a little more. To her, David was safety. To her, David was proof that not all men were like the stories whispered in the women's forum. To her, David felt like a second chance sent by God himself. But hope, when unguarded, can be the easiest door to enter. That same evening, after leaving Esther's hut, David did not go home. Instead, he walked past the village paths and into the bush, where the moonlight barely touched the ground. He stopped beside a large iroko tree, pulled a small calabash from his wrapper, and sat quietly. Soon, he muttered to himself. Very soon. A faint smile curved his lips, not the gentle smile Esther knew, but something colder. Calculated. All I need is patience, he continued. The village already pities her. They already fear her. When the morning ends, they will be too tired to question anything. He crushed dry leaves between his fingers slowly, as if rehearsing the future. She will marry me, he said confidently. And everything will fall into place. Back in her hut, Esther sat alone, oil lamp flickering beside her. She held the edge of her wrapper tightly, her thoughts wandering. For the first time in her life, a man had asked for her heart without force. For the first time, she felt seen, not as property, not as payment, not as sacrifice. Yet somewhere deep inside her chest, a small voice stirred. Why does he do so much for me? Why does he never ask about my pain, but only about my future? She shook the thought away quickly. No, she whispered to herself. I must stop thinking like the woman in the forum. Not everyone comes with evil intentions. Still, the voice did not fully disappear. The next market day, Esther stepped out earlier than usual, determined to buy food herself, if only to feel normal again. As she walked, two women whispered loudly behind her. That's her, one said. The widow. The one David is always visiting, the other added. Oh, that boy is smart. Very smart. Esther paused but did not turn. Any man who marries her will become rich overnight, the woman continued, laughing. Who wouldn't wait? Esther's heart skipped. She turned slowly. Wait for what? She asked calmly. The woman froze, startled, then quickly walked away without answering. Esther stood there, the echo of their words settling heavily on her chest. That night, when David came as usual, she studied him differently. The way his eyes moved around the compound. The way he spoke about after morning more than how she felt now. The way his promises always pointed forward, to a future that somehow centered on what she had, not just who she was. David, she asked suddenly, if my husband had died poor, would you still be here? The question caught him off guard, but only for a second. Why would you even think of such a thing? He laughed lightly. I am here because of you, Esther. She nodded slowly. But that night, after he left, Esther did not sleep easily. For the first time since her ordeal, fear returned, not of tradition, not of widowhood, but of something more dangerous. Love that comes with conditions. Somewhere in the village, the elders began to talk quietly. Somewhere, eyes were watching. Somewhere, truth was waiting for the right moment to step into the light. And Esther, still young, still healing, stood unknowingly at another crossroads. Because in this thing called marriage, the second trap often comes disguised as rescue. Soon enough, Esther's hair began to grow again, thick and lively, as the end of her one-year mourning period approached. For 12 long months, she had lived under the weight of grief, the whispers of the women in the village, and the lingering shadow of her husband's untimely death. But now, the time had come to move forward, to shed the black cloth and the sorrow that had clung to her like an unwelcome shadow. In her community, the ritual of black cloth removal was a solemn yet celebratory event, deeply rooted in tradition. This ceremony marked the official end of a widow's mourning period. After one full year of living in respect and silence for the departed, the widow is considered ready to resume life openly, to reclaim her identity and dignity. No longer would anyone refer to her merely as a widow, nor treat her with undue pity or suspicion. She was free to remarry, to live, and to be recognized as a woman whose past was honored but no longer defined her. Esther prepared her appearance meticulously for the day. Her hair, now fully grown into a soft, voluminous afro, gleamed in the sunlight. The women of the community came together to help her cook and prepare for the feast, their hands moving expertly over the firewood, clay pots, and fresh vegetables. They laughed and joked as if the past year had never been, as if they had not been the same women who, months ago, had forced her to drink the water associated with her late husband's corpse, testing her innocence, accusing her of wrongdoing. They had spoken of failure as being an orphan soul with no family, of success as the only way to be recognized. And yet, here they were, preparing her meal as if nothing had ever happened, the scent of palm oil and fresh herbs filling the air, the red earth compound bright and alive. The day of the black cloth removal finally arrived. After the cooking, the singing, and the laughter, the elders performed the proper rituals. With solemn chants and gestures, they lifted the black cloth from Esther's shoulders. The air seemed to shift, a palpable sense of freedom filled the courtyard. Esther was no longer in mourning. The village watched quietly as the final rites were done, acknowledging that she was once again a woman with the right to claim her life and her choices. Then, from among the crowd, David stepped forward. All eyes followed him as he walked to the center, his expression steady yet full of purpose. Whispers spread through the crowd, what was he about to do? And then, his voice rang out clearly, cutting through the murmurs. Esther, will you marry me and be my wife? I am asking you before the entire village today, to witness my love for you. Now that you're free and open to live a new life, I want to marry you. A hush fell over the gathering. Esther's eyes widened, her heart thundering in her chest. For a moment, she could not speak. David, please, stand up, she finally managed to say, her voice trembling. Is it not too early? Don't you think we need more time to understand ourselves? But David would not be swayed. He had calculated this moment carefully, knowing Esther's shy nature would make a public proposal nearly impossible to refuse. Stepping closer to the elders, he asked firmly, my elders, after a woman's mourning period is over, does she still need more time to wait? Especially when she is young and able. Is it not better for her to be married and responsible than to remain single, exposed to the attention of all men? The elders, nodding with understanding, quickly agreed. Yes, my son, the leader said, turning to Esther with a gentle smile. It is not too early to start anew. 1 year has passed. If you find this young man worthy, feel free to accept him. No one here will judge you. Esther's legs felt weak, but she walked slowly toward David. Her arms wrapped around him in a long, tentative embrace, signaling her acceptance. Even as her heart fluttered with uncertainty, a small flame of hope and excitement began to grow. The crowd erupted into cheers, a mix of celebration and murmured curiosity. Some women whispered among themselves, skeptical. Is this man truly in love with her, or is he after her late husband's wealth? One asked. Perhaps he loves her, but the situation makes it hard to see clearly, another replied. Yet others clapped and shouted, lifting their voices in celebration, as the party wound down and villagers returned to their homes, the red-earth path glowing in the setting sun. The next morning, David wasted no time. "I want to go and meet your parents today," he told Esther. "I want to make everything official so we can start living together." Esther nodded, a mixture of excitement and nervousness coursing through her. Together, they went to her father's compound, where the traditional marriage rites were completed. The elders gave their blessings, and the arrangements were formalized, binding the young couple according to custom. That night, in the privacy of their shared room, Esther stood before David, her heart racing. "I am still a virgin," she admitted, her voice low and shy. "And I am glad to give my pride to a man I love, and who I am sure loves me in return." David cleared his throat, responding casually, "Virginity isn't really an achievement, anyway." Esther's eyes widened. "Do you mean to say," she began, worried. He quickly reassured her with a practiced smile. No, that's not what I meant. Whether or not you were a virgin, it wouldn't change how much I respect and value you." Relieved, Esther let herself relax into his arms, believing his words. She did not yet know that David had carefully chosen each word to deceive her, to smooth over doubts and secure her trust. And so, as they lay together, their first night as husband and wife, Esther allowed herself a small, joyful smile. She felt loved, cherished, and ready to begin this new chapter. Yet deep within, a shadow lingered, an unspoken fear that perhaps life with David might not be as simple or as safe as it seemed. Now, the morning after Esther became David's wife did not come with joy. It came quietly, too quietly. As Esther and David stood outside the hut that morning, the early sun touching the red earth softly, Esther studied her husband's face with curiosity. Marriage still felt unreal to her, like a cloth she had been wrapped in too quickly. After a long silence, she finally spoke. "Now that we are married," Esther asked gently, "where are we going to live? I was thinking maybe I should start packing my things so we can move to your house." The words had barely left her mouth when David forced a smile. "No, Esther, my dear," he said calmly. "I was actually thinking, since this house is bigger and more comfortable, maybe it would be better if we make your house our home." Esther frowned slightly. "Or," David added quickly, "do you want to sell the house and everything in it?" She looked at him in confusion. "Don't you know," he continued, lowering his voice, "that after your first husband died without children or close family, everything here now belongs to you? The house, the land, the livestock, all of it." Esther stood still, trying to process his words. "But," she said slowly, "isn't it the woman that moves into her husband's house? Why is ours different?" David laughed softly and held her hands. "There is nothing wrong with it, Esther. What matters is that we love each other. Where we live doesn't define us." He squeezed her hands gently. "You know I love you so much," he added sweetly. "What more do you want me to do to prove that?" Esther hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "All right," she said quietly. "You can move in, as long as we stay happy together." David smiled, a smile that looked genuine on the surface, and left shortly after. A few hours later, David returned. But this time, he did not come alone. Beside him was a young woman, not much older than Esther herself, carrying a small baby girl on her back. Esther rushed forward instinctively, welcoming them with warmth. She collected David's bag, brought water, prepared food, and served everyone. They ate together quietly. But as the sun began to tilt westward and no one made any move to leave, unease crept into Esther's chest. She gently called David aside behind the hut. "Who is the woman you came with?" she asked politely. "And why hasn't she prepared to leave?" "It's getting late." David's expression changed slightly. "Oh, Esther," he said quickly, "she's my cousin. She has been living with my parents since she was a child." After my parents died, I became responsible for her. Esther's brows knitted together. But why isn't she with her husband? She asked. And whose child is she carrying? David sighed dramatically. The child's father is late, he said. I'm the only one she has. I've been acting as a father figure. Then he added sharply, if you don't want them here, I can send them away. The edge in his voice startled Esther. Feeling cornered, she lowered her head and replied softly, no, let them stay. I just want us to live happily together without anything coming between us. David smiled again. That same evening, Esther sat alone, reflecting. She had entered marriage again, not freely chosen out of love, but out of pressure, shame, and the weight of public eyes. David, however, moved with a new confidence. From that very day, he began speaking like a man who owned not just a wife, but an estate. He spoke of land boundaries, livestock numbers, future plans, and authority with excitement that unsettled Esther. My father never owned this much, he said one afternoon, laughing. Esther forced a smile, but a cold knot tightened in her stomach. That night, as David slept soundly beside her, Esther stared at the ceiling, unable to rest. For the first time since their marriage, a terrifying question whispered through her heart. Did David marry me, or did he marry what I came with? Because sometimes, the most dangerous marriages are not the ones forced with violence, but the ones entered with smiles, patience, and hidden intentions. And for Esther, the unseen battles were only just beginning. To be continued.